Have you ever thought about a product so powerful it makes money from nothing? A product so invisible, you don't even realize you're buying it every single day. That product is debt, and it's been deliberately designed to be the most profitable product in human history. It's funded wars, toppled empires, and quietly drains the wealth from ordinary people. Yet, if you ask most people where debt came from, they have no idea. The story of debt isn't just about economics. It's the story of money and power itself. Debt, in its simplest form, is a promise. You borrow today, you pay back tomorrow. But hidden in that promise is the secret ingredient. Interest. Charging interest literally turns the future into profit. For thousands of years, societies knew this was dangerous. Ancient Mesopotamians recorded debts on clay tablets, but they also had periodic debt jubilees. They wiped the slate clean. They knew that if too many people were trapped in debt, the whole system would collapse. But over time, the powerful learned not to erase debt, but to weaponize it. The real game changer came in the 17th century with the rise of state debt. When the Dutch Republic needed money to fight for its independence, it started selling bonds to its citizens. Suddenly, wars weren't limited by the gold and a king's treasury. They could be financed forever by selling the future. England copied this model, creating the Bank of England, and national debt became a permanent part of government. The bankers who managed this debt became essential to the state. The profits were enormous. Lending to governments was the safest bet around, because they could always raise taxes to pay their creditors back. Wars expanded empires, which opened new markets, creating even more opportunities for debt. It was a perfect loop. The more nations fought, the more they borrowed, and the richer their creditors became. As industrial capitalism took off, this cycle pulled in ordinary people. Railroads, factories, and entire cities were built on credit. Workers earned wages from companies funded by debt, and then they themselves borrowed to buy homes, and eventually, consumer goods. By the 20th century, debt wasn't just for governments or big businesses. It became the everyday product sold to the masses. Mortgage, car loans, credit cards, the entire structure of modern life was built to make borrowing feel normal. And here's the cruel genius of it all. Debt doesn't just create profit once. Every single interest payment is a transfer of wealth from the debtor to the creditor, from the many to the few, repeated month after month, year after year. A house bought with a 30-year mortgage will end up costing 2 or 3 times its sticker price. A credit card bill you roll over can grow faster than you can ever hope to pay it off. What starts as a promise becomes a trap. Debt is the most successful business model in history. It requires no factory, no inventory, no raw materials. It literally generates wealth out of time itself. And the people who understood this, the bankers of London, the financiers of Wall Street, became the architects of our modern world. In the years after World War II, this system went into overdrive. The International Monetary Fund and the World Bank were created, officially, to help nations develop. But behind the scenes, they used debt as a tool of control. Countries could get loans, but only if they agreed to cut spending, privatize industries, and reorganize their economies on terms set by their creditors. Debt wasn't just profitable, it was a lever of global political power. At the same time, banks discovered a gold mine in households. The mortgage became the symbol of the American dream, but it chained families to 30 years of payments. Car loans and credit cards turned debt into a consumer product, marketed as a way to enjoy life now and pay for it later. For banks, this created a steady, compounding river of profits. For governments, it fueled the illusion of endless growth. For corporations, it created customers who could spend money they didn't even have yet. The whole system became addicted. Banks didn't want you to pay off your debt quickly. They made more money the longer you stayed in it. Politicians found it easier to borrow than to raise taxes, pushing the costs onto future generations. And central banks kept the party going by making sure money was always cheap and easy to borrow. By the 1980s, the consequences hit hard. Developing countries that had been encouraged to borrow suddenly couldn't pay when interest rates shot up. The solution? More loans, with even stricter conditions. Then came the 2008 financial crisis. Wall Street had been bundling up mortgages and selling them as complex securities. It was debt built on debt, and when it all came crashing down, the entire global system almost collapsed. But who got bailed out? Not the families who lost their homes, but the banks that caused the crisis. And the solution to a crisis caused by too much debt was to create even more debt. Today, global debt is over $300 trillion more than 3 times the world's entire economic output. We've normalized it. A student takes on massive loans for a degree. A couple signs a 30-year mortgage for a home. We're told this is investment or the American dream. But what looks like prosperity is often just leverage stacked on leverage, and every interest payment quietly funnels wealth upward, from millions of ordinary people to the balance sheets of the largest financial institutions. Debt doesn't just create profit, it locks in inequality. The lesson here is that debt is not neutral. It has been deliberately designed to be the most profitable product ever created. To understand debt is to understand that real financial freedom is not something the system will ever hand you, because the system profits from you being indebted. History shows us the pattern, from ancient clay tablets to modern digital currencies. The story is always the same. Debt enriches the creditor, burdens the debtor, and reshapes the world for those who control the money. And the greatest trick of all is that we've been taught to call it progress. If this gave you a new perspective, hit that subscribe button. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.